Okay, gardeners, I got a fun craft for you today. Not just for us as adults, but especially for kids, because this takes a lot of time, and the truth is the more nimble and smaller the fingers, the better the work can be done. So what I did is go outside and collect a bunch of flowers to press. My long-term objective is I'm going to make some cards or bookmarks. I always think of pressing flowers during the season when the phlox are in bloom. That's what these light blue ones are. My other favorite for pressing are the pansies. So I grabbed a few of them, and I even bought a little pansy plant. Here, these little tiny Johnny Jump Up styles are even better for pressing. So this is a simple job. It really doesn't take too much money output. I just use old phone books, which are kind of hard to find these days, but I have a stash of about 12 of them. The easiest thing to do is just lift open your pages. Now I pre-cut my phlox so that they'll flatten out for me real easily on the page. I do this ahead of time. See, here's your phlox on its stem. And what I'm going to do is just cut it off so there's no back on it. So I lay them all face down on my page, and don't breathe, because if you exhale, they all blow away. And I spread them all over the top of my page. Let me put some of my other ones. Some of these are little stems with just buds, which are cute too. You have to space them so they're not touching each other. And I'm going to put about a dozen pages between my phone before I press my next page of them. So I throw them all on here, spread them out. You can go outside and do this with all kinds of wildflowers. And then I just gently close them under there. I might position them a little bit. But phlox are so easy. So that page is done. I got things like wild violets. Now, my wild violet, I did cut the back of it off. I kind of scalped him a little on the back side. I cut his back off, his stem off and everything, because I don't need that thickness, and the flower seems to stay pretty intact. The petals stay on. You'll just have to practice with different flowers. Here's the outdoor native phlox. I'm going to do the same thing, just cut those flowers off. I don't need all that stem. I'm looking just for the pretty petals. And I like the foliage, so I think I'll stick the foliage in here too. And it's kind of just a gamble how well the foliage will press, but I'm going to lay it down. Usually I bring my page, I kind of gently close it. I sneak them down into the fold of the paper to help me, the fold of the book, as I press down on them. I always like to invert my flower so it's down. They can almost touch each other, and I lay them in there, and then I jump another dozen or so pages. I'm going to try these daffodils. I kind of wonder if they'll really work. Again, I'm going to cut up there. I wanted a real skinny flower, so I'm going to cut it really short. And I know this is a cup shape that's not going to press too well, so I'm going to go ahead and snip it a little to allow it to flare open when I get it flat on my page. So I'll position it. Again, I'm going to start it and trap it in there and flatten out my petals. Try to even them out as I'm working. And that's how I collect foliage. Here's a Coreopsis or a heuchera from my garden. I'm going to cut the stem off. I'm going to sneak it back here. Gently bring my page down. My pansies, they're so easy to do. Let me cut the back stem off a little. Get that out of there. So you want to do this during the day when the dew is all dry. You don't want to collect them in the morning when they're moist. Collect your flowers during midday. And so I'm going to lay all these in. I love doing different kinds of foliage. This is a Dutchman's breeches. Look at that delicate little foliage. Just lay it on your pages as best you can. Tomorrow you can come back in and reposition them again. And you might want to change them to a different page so they don't mold. And then I just go from there with all kinds of weeds. What else do I have here? Oh, this is Queen Anne's lace. It's a carrot, and oh, it's gorgeous when it's pressed. A lovely, delicate foliage. So I do all kinds of foliage. Here's a dianthus flower that I would just lay this one sideways and press him in the page. You just have to start and play with them to see what presses nicely. So I'll get my whole book filled with all different pages until I can't get it any more full than that. And then I take a whole stack of books. Like you might have some books that you don't read very much. So I take, and I try to put a dozen. I mean, I kid you not. I stack this stack 4 foot high with books because the more weight that's on them, the better they'll press. It's going to take it at least 2 weeks for your flowers to dry out. But after that, you can be checking them meanwhile. Take the books off and check them about every 3 days at first to make sure they're not molding. So I let them sit and press. So what do you do with them then? Let me show you the process of what I do. So here's a sample bookmark when I'm finished. This one went through a laminator, and we have ivy leaves in this one, and pansy, and some foliage from another plant, and we actually used a pen to put some marks on some of these. But this went through a professional laminator. I'm going to show you a cheaper way to do this. You also are going to need some kind of decorative cards or decorative paper of some kind, cardstock. Cardstock is what I prefer. I just keep a stack of cardstock. So you'll need your papers. You're also going to have to purchase some form of a adhesive laminating sheet. Self-adhesive laminating sheets, because that's what I'm going to press in between right now. Let me show you what we're going to do. Oh, let me give you another tip. The way to store them. See these plastic paper holder things, these clear ones? I keep all my old pressed flowers inside of these. They're wonderful. Look, there's Queen Anne's lace there, the dream for pressing. I love pressing them. But it's a great way to store them when I'm doing kids' workshops. They can just sort through these clear page things. The electrostatic pull of the plastic kind of holds your foliage. But what I'm going to do now is I have a Franklinia here, one of my all-time favorite flowers, and I wrote on the cardstock already, I wrote the name of my plant. And one of the things I like to do is sometimes the electrostatic cling of this adhesive paper will pull my flower up and it messes up my design. So what I like to do is put a little glue on my toothpick. So I put a little tad of glue and I blow underneath my leaf, put a little touch of glue on there just to keep it down there. And then my maidenhair fern, I'll blow him out of the way and put a little touch of glue. And that's how I practice to make sure nobody lifts up too much, because when I put this adhesive on it, you're going to watch it'll come right up toward me. So I've got my design on my bookmark, because that's what I'm making here is a bookmark. And I put my science names on there because I like to do that. So I peel back my adhesive and I kind of line it up a little. And you really have, this is not a kid's part of the project. I messed up. I missed the corner of it a little bit. And then I run my hand across. I messed up on that corner. You guys got me nervous. And then I pull my paper out. And then I like to do it on both sides. So I peel the rest of my adhesive off. Curl it across the back. And then I often, if I have pinking shears, which I have laying around here somewhere, I don't know where they are right now. Somewhere. I don't see. Here's a regular pair. And then I'll make a decorative. I make my last cut right at the end. And I'll clean up my edges. And if I have some mistakes, which I had on that lower corner, and I have a paper cutter, professional one that I could do. But there's my Franklinia little bookmark, homemade. I could actually still cut this side. And it's totally preserved because it's trapped inside on both sides. So easy kids craft. I encourage all of you to try it. Get started now because you got to wait at least 2 weeks while your flowers dry. But a super cool kids craft. Have fun, garden of Weedon friends.